Welcome to Iconic Movie Reviews. My name is Shane, and today I'm going to be reviewing Overlord. This is going to be chock full of spoilers, so you've been warned. Here we go. Alright, so let's talk about Operation Overlord. Again, this is full of spoilers. You've been warned. As a movie review person, I never want to spoil movies for people, and I always find it hard to do a non-spoiler movie review versus a spoiler, because again, you're always trying to keep in mind the audience, and I don't want to be the guy that actually wrecks a movie for someone. I want you to experience it at its fullest. So this movie review, I can actually have fun, tell you my thoughts, tell you what's happening in the movie, and then hopefully you've watched this movie already, and then you can share your comments below. So here we go. Again, the synopsis is the Americans send paratroopers behind enemy lines to a small French village where there is a radio tower, and their goal is to destroy that radio tower. So the characters in this movie are Ed Boyce, who's the main protagonist, and Ford, who is played by Wyatt Russell, who is Kurt Russell's son. Tippett, who is the sniper, and I think that's the guy that looks like and sounds like he's from Brooklyn. Chase, who is the war photographer. And Dawson, who is the guy that stepped on the landmine. Boom, blown up into smithereens. And then we have Sergeant Eldison, who Ford assumes the mission after he dies. He gets basically ambushed by the Nazis when he landed on the ground after paratrooping in. So we don't really see too much of Eldson. He was the guy on the plane that was basically leading the mission. I found it a little bit hard to understand him at times when there was explosions going on in the plane. And I don't know if that was just me, but he kind of got lost amidst all the action. And I tell you what, that opening sequence of the paratroopers, the planes getting shot down, all that kind of stuff, I never get tired of seeing bombers invading Germany and that kind of stuff. So I thought that was a fantastic scene. The special effects were pretty good. I actually felt for Boyce when he actually finally did jump out of a plane right after, who was the guy? Oh, this guy's important. He's an important character. Dominic Applewhite, who is Rosenfeld. That's the guy that Boyce went right after the plane. He said, "I'm going to be right behind you." We don't see Rosenfeld for a little while, but he's the guy that Boyce actually rescues from the scientific lab, and I'll talk about him a little bit later. I think he's an important character. But anyways, Boyce goes out of the plane, and I thought it was great. Like, I know Tom Cruise jumped out of a plane at like 20,000 feet, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is great." I loved it. Loved that scene, that it was real, all this kind of stuff, but maybe you don't need to do that. Like when Boyce jumped out of the plane, he's going end over end. There's explosions all around him and stuff, and he's trying to activate his chute. I felt just as much for that character as I did with Tom Cruise when he jumped out of a real plane. To me, they're both the same. Like, who cares? Yeah, it's probably a green screen and all this kind of stuff, but it actually worked. You felt the panic in the actor. I think it's all about acting, and he pulled it off. Then, of course, he lands into the water and is basically drowning with his parachute. He has to get out of his chute. And I actually felt that this was a bit of a born-again experience for Boyce, because he was looked at on the plane like, this guy can't even save a mouse and all this kind of stuff. I know they don't tell that story till later, but basically 2-3 months earlier, he was cutting the grass, and now he is in a war that he doesn't even know. All of a sudden, he's there, and it's a shock for him. And we can relate to that, because as much as we can say, "Oh yeah, we're going to be the hero if we ever got drafted into a war," and that kind of stuff, you don't know until you're there. And I could relate to this character because we can tell that he wants to be brave, he wants to prove himself, and he hasn't had the chance yet. So we'll see it later in the movie. But I thought the opening scene was fantastic. I loved it, and then I loved that they're getting to this village, and they actually come across a creature. I don't know what it was, if it was like a goat, a pig, something gene spliced into a dog or something like that. You know there's some kind of weird experiment going on. And of course, after watching the trailer, you think, oh, this movie is going to be just chock full of zombies. It's not like that. This is actually a war movie mixed in with Nazi scientific experiments and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's why I really appreciated this movie. So then they come across Chloe, who we're not sure if she's a thief, a scavenger. What is she? Is she a spy, a German spy? We don't know. So basically, Boyce can speak French, and he asks her to take them to her home. And I don't think she had any choice. She takes her into the home. They're there, and Ford, who takes over the mission, says, let's get all our equipment on the table so we can actually figure out how much inventory we have. Boyce is talking to Chloe, and Chloe says, yeah, my mom's really sick. And it sounds like a guy that's coughing upstairs and that kind of stuff. So you're like, something's not quite right with her mother. So then Boyce later goes up to check, and this jump scare actually worked for me because you know it's coming. I'm like, don't go into that room. Don't go check her out. And he peeks, and there's nobody there. And then he looks behind him and then looks back, and boom, there it was. And it's some kind of deformity. So that's all they really do. They don't really talk about her mother anymore. They just kind of leave it. But which leads me to the question, how long have the Nazis been experimenting on people? Is it one day? Is it 1 month? Has it been years? Maybe since the late 30s, early 40s. And this little tar pit that they found, I don't know what the components are, but somehow they mix that with the serum, mix that with the DNA from these people, from creatures, whatever it is, from dogs, cats, whatever. And they get almost like a super soldier out of it. And obviously there's consequences, there's side effects, their limbs break because they're contorting so much, and their necks break, all this kind of stuff, and it's actually kind of gross. But you could see that the Nazis are dipping into something that they don't know enough about, and they're experimenting all over the place. And we don't know if this is the only, I keep calling it tar pit, but I don't know what else to call it. We don't know if this is the only village in Europe where the Germans or the Nazis have been experimenting. We don't know that. So we don't know how many creatures they've been experimented on. They didn't even go into that. They just show one creature and that's it. I actually thought when I saw the wolf, or the dog I should say, coming at Boyce when he was getting close to the tower, I actually thought that wolf maybe had some kind of gene splicing, because I could have swore its eyes turned red for a second. Not sure. I'd have to watch the movie again. But then they don't talk about these creatures, so who knows how many creatures are out there in the woods that are still alive? Who knows how many villagers have been infected by this serum? All this kind of stuff they don't really talk about. But we can assume where there's one mad scientist, there's more scientists, there's more labs, that kind of stuff. And of course you feel for all the characters. Like I mentioned in my other video, I didn't want any of these guys to die. I thought they were all awesome. But I want to talk a little bit about Dominic Applewood, who has kind of a small role in this, but I think it's very important. He's the first guy that jumps out of the plane just before Boyce, and Boyce says, I'm going to follow you and all this kind of stuff. Then we don't see him anymore. Then later Boyce discovers him in the lab and actually frees him, because he had some kind of a suction cup on his lungs or something like that. And later in the movie, Rosenfeld is basically almost 100% at the end of the movie, and they don't really talk about that. It's just kind of under the radar, and I'm like, maybe he still has some of that serum left in him that's making him superhuman or something like that. Because that wound to the lungs, man, just pulling that out would have killed anybody. But yet he's sitting there, and they're going to go on to another mission. They're going to join the Charlie Company and probably do more missions. So to me, this sets up for a sequel, Overlord 2. I could see it coming. I could see it in the works. There's a reason why J.J. Abrams was on the set almost every single day. Usually producers don't have their hands that much into it. They might show up every once in a while. But Julius Avery was directing this movie, and you can see in any of the outtakes and that Julius Avery and J.J. Abrams are like this. They're always talking. So that leads me to believe that there is going to be a sequel, maybe depending on how well it does in the movie theaters. This movie only had a budget of $38 million, and it's trending right now to be about maybe $10 million by the end of the weekend, which is pretty small. Normally you want to hit, I would say, between 30 and 60 million. That kind of gives you good legs going into Christmas. So maybe through word of mouth and that kind of stuff, maybe this movie will start building some traction. I don't know. I'm trying to get the word out. I just tell people, hey, this is a fantastic movie. You need to see it. So again, I love all the characters in this movie. I love Tippett. I like the relationship with Tippett and the boy. At first, the boy's kind of annoying, and the boy would sneak up on Tippett every once in a while. And that actually made me laugh. I like the humor in this movie. Tippett was like, geez, we got to put a bell on this guy. He's creeping me out. And I felt the same way. Like every time the guy turns, his kid is there and he's got a baseball. And it's kind of funny that Tippett doesn't like American baseball. He's from Brooklyn. Maybe that's a stereotype or something like that. But of course, Boyce likes to play baseball, and when he grabs the baseball, he smells it, and the boy's like, whoa, what's going on? And he's like, this reminds me of home. I thought that was kind of a neat scene. They actually try and develop the characters here and there. You get a sense of Chloe, her mission. Her mom's been experimented on. She basically wants that lab destroyed. Boyce wants, maybe he's falling for Chloe. Oh, the scene with the German soldier. I want to call him a Michael Shannon lookalike, because that's exactly what he looks like. He looks like Michael Shannon, but his name is Pilu Aspayak Waffner. We'll just call him Waffner, the German Nazi. And basically, he was in Ghost in the Shell. He was on a couple of episodes of Game of Thrones, The Great Wall, Ben-Hur, that kind of stuff. But this guy is a brilliant actor. And then there was one scene where he shows up at Chloe's house, and he's like, hey, do you have any time for me tonight? So you know what's going to go down. She says, no, not tonight. Hey, shh, trying to do a review here. She says, not tonight. And basically, he was going to rape her right there on the spot. And it was very disturbing, because you don't want to watch, and you're like, man, what's going to happen? You know, Boyce and Ford are upstairs watching, and you're hoping, deep down inside, I'm hoping that Boyce intervenes. And all of a sudden you see the German guy go down on his knees, and he's going to just start raping this girl. And all of a sudden a gun comes to the back of his head, and I was like, yes! Justice, blow the guy away. Can't do that, but Boyce has a conscience. And I just thought that was awesome when he put the gun to the guy's head, and the guy gets up. And then later, obviously, they beat the crap out of him to try and make him talk. They're trying to figure out what is in the church, what are they using this needle for, all this kind of stuff. And the German guy, Waffner, basically says to Ford, we're giving these people a purpose. And we're basically, Hitler wants a 1,000-year reign for his troops, his super soldiers, all this kind of stuff. So that was the whole purpose of this, is to try and figure out immortality. So yeah, so this is, like I said, I can go on and on about this movie. But the basic thing, again, about this movie is the Nazis are doing horrible things. They got to knock out the tower. They're on a timeline. All this stuff works. I just absolutely love it. And make no mistake about it, it is a World War II movie. Again, I was a little bit apprehensive about going into this movie because I thought it was just going to be chock full of zombies. And I'm like, oh, not another zombie movie. It's not that I don't like zombies, but man, I stopped watching Walking Dead because it's just too much. Too much killing of the zombies, just thousands and thousands of zombies. And I'm like, it's too much for me. Too much. But yeah, I like the show. Keep saying I like it, but I really do. I thought Julius Avery is great. I want to see more movies. I thought the writing by Billy Ray was awesome. And again, I think they're going to make a sequel to this movie. I really do. I think if it was up to J.J. Abrams, he'd have 2 or 3, because to me, that's where the money is. The money is in the franchises, not so much just a one-off. So if people can go to the theater, if they buy the movie and that kind of stuff, and there's enough interest in this movie, I think this movie will become very iconic. So that is all I have to say about this movie. Again, if you haven't seen this movie and you're watching the spoiler review, that confuses me because I did tell you there are spoilers. So hopefully you've seen the movie. What did you think about it? Do you think there's going to be a sequel? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Feel free to comment below and let me know your thoughts. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this movie review channel. I really appreciate it, and thanks for watching.